Okay, so welcome to the Blender Noob Show with Gabe and Mike.
I am Mike Reese, also known as Melting Face 3D, 3D artist, and Blender noob learning Blender.
Yep, and this is episode number 4. So today we're gonna jump right in. Mike is gonna show us what he's been working on with the. We're still on the hydrant, right? Some cool stuff.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. So and let me know when you see it. So
There we go.
last time we left off, we were still modeling. We were doing the text for the high poly fire hydrant. Since that time, I have completed the high poly fire hydrant, which I will show you. It's super dense. I've actually brought it into ZBrush, did some additional sculpting, just some like edge wear. I got it to where it's all one mesh. You can see it, kind of did some of the blending, brought it back into Blender, where I then made the low poly mesh, which is what this is.
Yeah, that is looking awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's not like low poly where it's super low, but I wanted to make it to where the silhouette was good. We had some, some of these cylinders are still pretty rounded, but just something that still looked nice and it had some areas. But then what I was able to do was then get that into Substance Painter, where now I have a couple of elements.
So this is the low poly mesh.
Painted. Yeah.
So did you show us the? I'm sorry. Did you show us the wireframe already, or is it?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll do the wireframe of this guy.
So the low poly. So is this all the low poly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yep. So this is it. It's in a few different pieces. There's mostly all unique UVs. This is the decimated high poly that I brought in from ZBrush. And one of the cool things that I found while doing this process is that there is a plugin called Go B. You're able to export your mesh from Blender right to ZBrush, and then it will like auto update. So it was really easy to export the quote-unquote high poly mesh from Blender, bring it into ZBrush, do some sculpting, bring it right back right where it was supposed to go. So it was definitely a quality of life workflow enhancer. There's a couple different baking softwares that I use depending on what kind of results I'm getting. So I did a couple of test bakes within Substance Painter. They turned out pretty good, but I was still getting some interesting artifacting. So I actually used Marmoset Toolbag to do the final bake and then bring in the maps into Substance Painter, which I'll then do for printing. But it's all about knowing multiple ways to get the best result.
Isn't it fascinating just how many different pieces of software we have to sit and bring these models in and out of to get what we want?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the crazy things too is it's like this isn't even the end, right? We have to, depending on what the output is, we can bring it back into Blender to do the final rendering. That's definitely what I'm going to do. So the final low poly game asset will be in Blender, which I will render with Render Eve.
So this might be fun. So Mike, some of the people that don't know, what is Marmoset Toolbag?
Marmoset Toolbag is a standalone rendering software for real-time assets. Look at the asset in real time with lighting. You can change the lighting like I am right here. Just like twirl it around, spin it around, and then look at like all the different map types and everything else. So let me show you a scene in Marmoset. This is for my last big project. Here is a real-time scene that I built for my last character project. So all these assets, were brought through the same workflow that we've been discussing within Blender. It's, you do the high poly, low poly, the baking, and then the texture. But then I brought in all these assets like it was a game engine, but very straightforward, very easy. Get your shot, get the lighting, depth of field, fog, get all the maps linked up, do some final rendering. Like the actual renderer is a GPU renderer, and it does a phenomenal job. And it's been a lot of fun to use, and pretty intuitive and pretty easy to get some really great results. What's coming up next is, we're going to be texturing it with Substance to get the full game asset, the full workflow, and then rendering that out with with Blender Eevee. Yeah, so that's where we're at with the fire hydrant. Got a lot of work done.
No, but the next plan on your agenda is that just to go all out in Substance Painter and.
Yeah, so one of the things that I did is I got some additional reference because I didn't quite know what kind of fire hydrant I wanted to make. So the first version was very clean with some drips and some cool stuff, but I'm a big fan of just gnarly, dirty stuff. So I was able to get that same fire hydrant
Nice.
rusted, and so just to show off more substance procedures, I'm gonna be doing something that's a lot closer to this. We're gonna do dirt and rust. We're going to think about what the process is within substance, blocking it out, and then going through and doing some basic materials, and then working through those materials procedurally to getting the dirt, the rust, the discoloration, the chinks and the dings and the bangs that that come from a much older fire hydrant versus a much newer one.
Awesome. And did you say you plan on streaming some of your process for this?
Yeah, so at the very least, I'm going to be recording it and making a demo of start to finish, texturing the fire hydrant within Substance Painter at the very least, and I'll probably do some streaming of that as well.
Watched the edit of our first Noob Show episode where Mike walked me through how to use Blender. Mike, there was so much I forgot, and I was watching that video, and it was like super helpful. I think that's one of the things that's really helpful about us doing the show and just recording it in general is that hopefully anyone looking into Blender or people that are just huge Blender fans, this will be just a place to hang out. I know in the past we've gotten some real Blender, not pros, but aficionados, people who are really familiar with the software who help us out in chat. And so hopefully this will be a fun little community to grow as Blender grows.
Absolutely. And there's just tons of stuff there's tons of material that we can go over. I'm definitely going to be learning more every week, and we can talk about some very specific tools and tool sets like we have been doing. But like Gabe said earlier, we definitely wanted to try and figure out where the channel was going to grow and where it was going to go. So definitely want to get this series completed, and then we're going to just have a lot of fun trying to focus in on a few key areas with every show.
Yeah, I'd love that. And anyone watching this on YouTube, if you have any ideas of where you would like this show to go, please, we appreciate all the feedback. Some of the ideas that I have is I just love working on small projects that anyone viewing can actually see the front to end process of the whole thing. And so for me, it's just learning these new little tricks and techniques that I can talk about with Mike and with the community and just have fun with 3D modeling and making art.
I know it's going to be awesome. And what I really like is Gabe and I have different thoughts around like what we want to do personally. So like I'm more of a long form person with these long form projects. Gabe is more short term, and that's going to give that depth and that difference in like how to approach projects, quick things, longer form workflows, as well as some like industry chat and just some other talk that is going to be relevant to not only 3D but professional life in general.
Oh yeah, Mike, I think it's not outside of the realm of possibility that we might get someone here from Substance or Marmoset Toolbag to come and talk about some of their features of their products and how it incorporates with Blender and how it can help those Blender artists in their workflow.
Yeah, and Blender is continuously getting more support from other pieces of software. Like one of the things that happened between the last show and this one is that the Corona renderer is now going to be available for Blender. So it's again one other support function that gives Blender artists more ways of rendering, more ways of doing their workflow. And so I just think that's it's really exciting stuff.
All right, Mike, the hydrant is looking fantastic. I am blown away at your productivity. I know you have a really stressful, busy job that keeps you very, very busy, and the fact that you're able to accomplish this much outside of that I'm so impressed.
Thanks. It's all about goal setting and just putting in the calendar is really what it comes down to for me. But then again, I also just
okay. So everybody, thank you for. I know this is a shorter episode, Mike, than usual, but I think that's okay. This is the finale of our 4-part series. So definitely, if you're just starting with this one, check out 1 through 3, where we kind of kick this all off. We talk a lot more about how to use Blender, and Mike went through a lot of the process of this fire hydrant, which is definitely worth checking out. out. And then, we're going to start fresh in January with kind of just like a reboot. We're already rebooting.
Yep. This was a test. I think it was fun and definitely successful. So
yep.
We're just going to keep on moving forward.
I actually think we should call it so let's call that the pilot, and then season 1 will start in January.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. That's a done deal. Decisions are being made in real time.
That's how we roll.
Yep. All right, Mike. Thanks for your time today. Thanks you, everybody, for sticking around or checking out the Blender Noob Show.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for some streaming between now and season 1.
Yes. All right.